Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Will I be in the same class as my friends? What if I don't know anyone at school? What if my teacher doesn't like me and I don't like them? What if the other kids are smarter than me and I honestly can't keep up in class? And will I still have time for recess and playtime because they're my favourite part of school? And why do I have to go to bed earlier now? It's so hard to fall asleep. And if the work's too hard and I don't know the answers, what will I do? And what if I don't have any friends when I go back? Because all my friends are in different classes. When you were a child, did you have any of these worries when you returned to school after a long break? And do your children have these concerns as well? And how do you answer them? What do you do to ease their concerns and yours when it's back to school time after a long break? I'm Kate Mason and welcome to Parenting and Personalities. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. Now, whether you're in the southern or northern hemisphere, today's topic is one that every grandparent or parent can relate to. It's surviving the school holidays and managing to keep those kids engaged, possibly without screens if you can do it, and gearing them up for a really smooth transition back to school. Now, if you are in the northern hemisphere, the joy or the stress of your long summer break is only 6 months away. So I want you to listen today and see if there are any helpful tips that you can note down for July. If you're in the southern hemisphere with me, hang in there because it's only a short amount of time before your children go back to school. And often, getting children back to school is almost as stressful as the holidays themselves can be. And who better to join us than the brilliant and fun Dr. Victoria Waller. Dr. Victoria Waller is an educator, author, and learning expert with over 40 years of experience helping children with learning differences to discover their unique strengths and creativity. She's the author of Yes, Your Child Can, Creating Success for Children with Learning Differences, and a passionate advocate for nurturing children's talents through fun, hands-on activities. Dr. Waller combines her expertise in education with creativity and empowering parents, teachers, and children to thrive. Now today, Vicky and I will be talking about creative ways to help children learn during those long breaks and how to ease that dreaded back-to-school anxiety, which happens for both parents and children, and how to begin the emotional physical readiness for school at least 2 weeks before it starts. And we'll chat about the importance of communication, structure, and even finding some joy in those last summer moments. So stick around for some tips, laughs, and a few stories. Welcome, Vicky. It's great to have you back on the show.
I love being on with you.
Oh, so do I. It's so much fun.
If we live in the same city, we could
We
be
could be. But look, I'm going to get over to LA another time at some stage. So I'm going to come visit. You. Now, today you and I are going to talk about how to keep kids engaged in learning during the school holidays, particularly the summer breaks that are so long and without screens, which you might raise your eyes and go, really? And then focus on how to develop that emotional, physical readiness 2 weeks before they go back to school. Not one day, 2 weeks before they go to school. So, Vicky, let's start by discussing how to succeed getting through a school holiday without screens. What kind of activities do you think we should be doing?
Well, it's very interesting. As I told you, I think all children have things that they'd like to do. Everybody's creative, and you can have junk in your house. We talked about on the other podcast, things to build, things to do, old cameras. But it's very funny. This whole summer thing. Summer is children feel great. There's less anxiety. There's no homework. There's usually not any tablet rules, which means you're going to go back and it's going to be hard to get them off. It is an addiction. They're staying up later than usual. They're having fun with the family. Everything's lighter. And then all of a sudden, hello, nothing, you're not rushed. There's no packing lunches. If you're working, there's not that. I used to be hysterical because I'd be running to work and they'd be running to work. And do you have your lunch? It was a constant on and on. And how do you avoid the back to school hysteria? And it's honestly, I did this based on what did I do with my kids? And when I talk to parents, what happened? 2 weeks before school starts, everybody's hysterical that school's starting. I can tell you right now they are. Not that they
Mm-hmm.
don't like it. It's just like anxiety. Will I be with my friends? Is the teacher going to like me? Who's going to, and you're worried. You're thinking my kid has learning differences. Are they going to understand that she's really smart? Is my child going to be in a class with friends? So everybody take
Mm.
a deep breath. Okay,
Yep.
here's what we do. You ready? Okay. First of all, the first thing is make sure that your conversations about your concerns for your child don't take place in front of them talking to your spouse, your husband, your wife, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. You think kids aren't listening?
Oh,
They're
they are.
listening and they hear it.
Mm.
And even if they're 3 or 4 years old, they'll look up if
Yep.
you're saying something about them and they don't read or they don't write or something.
Could I just say something here, Vicky? That is so true. I think that a lot of us forget, even from a really young age, our children absorb everything. They are watching you, they are listening to you. And like you say, if you say something that is scary about going, they're going to absorb that. So yeah, that is such a great point because I think a lot of people keep talking in front of those children and they're not even thinking about what they're saying. And I think you need to think about every word you say.
No, it's true.
Mm,
And if your child is on medication, maybe they have learning differences or
mhm,
what, and you've taken them off for the summer, you have to go see the doctor again and adjust the meds before school starts. First of
yeah,
all, I have a thing about that. Um, I believe in medication if a doctor says the child needs it. For children who have learning differences and are and they can be it's very funny. Most of the kids I have aren't hyperactive because usually they're caught early. My kids are inattentive.
right.
They're looking out the window. I have a new little girl now, and I know the school she's at, okay? And she's always I said, "What floor are you on?" She said, "The second floor." I said, "Where's your chair?" She said, "Oh, it's next to the second window." And I said, "And what do you do most of the day?" She says, I'm always looking out on the playground." Of course she is. So the parent has to be aware and the teacher has to be
Mm,
aware.
mm,
You see her differently.
mm,
But if their medication, it's funny because my student that I wrote the book about originally, um, his parents let's see, he got on medication October, and Christmas they were going skiing. They get back, and the father said it was the worst trip we've ever had. He was out of his mind. He was up all night. I said, "What did you do about the meds?" He said, "Well, we were on vacation. I took him off the meds." I said, "Here's what to tell you, and you can ask your doctor because I'm not a medical doctor. If you're taking a medication because you need it, you don't take them off of it." And you know what? The child was upset. He couldn't be in control and
mhm.
he felt, I mean, he told me, he said, "Vicky, I felt horrible." He said, "When I'm on the meds, I'm just calmer and I can do my
Um,
work." And I went skiing. I was so all over the place and I was fighting with everybody. That's another thing. Don't go.
isn't it though? That's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because us adults, as that are on medication, wouldn't consider going off medication to go on a holiday, would we? So why would you do that to a child? That's just a it. I understand why they might do it, but it's just a very different thought pattern, and that's so sad for the child too, especially if the medication is working for them, and a shitty holiday as well.
And they shouldn't.
Oh,
I'm still at the point, don't forget, I've been doing this over
yeah.
40 years. The children they don't become drug addicts
Mm-mm.
if they're finally succeeding. If they're not succeeding, and I have a friend, it was very sad. I said to her, "Your child has learning differences and attention. Go to a doctor, find out, and see if he needs meds." "I'm not putting him on meds. He's going to become a drug addict." Well, guess what happened? Till he was 14, everybody kept saying, "You're so smart. Why can't you do this? Because
Mm.
she wouldn't put him on meds, and he overdosed on drugs.
Mm.
When I went to that funeral, I even get upset thinking
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
She looked at
So
me
sad.
and I looked at her and I didn't, of course, say anything, but I was thinking, I told you that for
Mm.
years and you wouldn't
Mm.
listen. Now most children go to sleep later in the summer. Okay, 1 to 2 weeks before, start putting them to bed 10 minutes earlier, not an hour, 10 minutes, so that by the time school starts, they're going to bed at the right time. Otherwise, you have a child, most of the children are sleeping there and they're not listening and they're all that keep that going. Um, Begin reading to your child. If you're not reading to them, start reading to them again. Read them a funny book, read them a poetry book. They're weird but true books, which are fantastic.
Right.
We have magazines called The Week Junior. I'm sure you have some kind of magazines, just little things, interesting animal stories. I was telling you before about my student who I read her animal stories from the New York Times. She couldn't read, but she loved hearing these stories. And at camp, I would send her stories. And now she's reading, and she said everybody liked at sleep time. I would read them an animal story from the New York Times.
Yeah.
Counselor wrote me a letter and said, "What kid reads the New York Times?" Well, she was used to it.
Mm, mm,
Um, Begin reading to them. Begin
yep.
talking to them. What makes you happy? What are you
Mm.
good at? What do you like about school? Try to get that. Not
And
don't be upset about school. Just say, "Oh,
yes.
what are the
Yeah.
things you like?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do
Mm.
after school? Are you gonna play sports? Do you wanna take an art class?" I have to tell you, the funny thing is when you tell a child, your teacher's scared too. They go, "What?
Mm.
My
Mm.
teacher's not I said, "They're scared. They don't know the kids. They don't know the parents. They don't know if what their books they're doing are the right
Mm.
books." I said, "They're scared too."
It-
Talk to them. Make them feel,
yeah.
oh, they're feeling what you're feeling like.
That's such a great point, though, too. Can I just butt in here in the sense that we don't have those conversations with our children? Often, as parents, we're too busy telling our children what they should be doing, not asking questions about how they feel about it. We're saying, you will feel like this or you will be like this. And I was also a school teacher many years ago. And
Oh,
I know that the children also didn't ever think that you were anywhere outside the classroom. You know, if they bumped into me at the supermarket, it was like, oh my goodness, she's shopping for food, making the teacher seem real and giving the teacher some concerns and understanding that the teacher is quite stressed coming back is a brilliant idea too, because that helps give them some grounding around it as well. And it also asking them what makes you happy, your own child. Uh, Communication just so important. And as parents, we have to remember, stop telling, start asking.
yes. Yes, talk to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, talk about what they like before
Mm,
bed, maybe sit on their bed.
mm.
What do they like about school? They're all gonna say
Yeah.
recess.
Yeah.
Maybe they're good at math, or maybe they like a book in library, or maybe they
Mhm,
like sports. But talk about the positive things about school. Talk about what their weekly schedule is gonna be like. When are you playing sports? When do you have music lessons? When are you gonna see somebody who maybe will help you with homework? If you
mm,
found somebody you like, maybe introduce them a little earlier. Here's a big one. Everybody ready for this?
mhm.
Remind them the rules for the tablet and their devices so they're not
Yes.
shocked, because after summer, their head has been in a
Mm,
computer, in a iPad,
mhm,
and you have to tell them,
mhm.
"We're gonna do our homework first. Make sure you finish it, and then you can have so many minutes, or we can watch something." It's it
Oh, well, you and I, we were so lucky, and, I hate to sound old sitting here, but we didn't have to parent through tablets and social media or anything like that, and I understand that today's parenting, that must be so stressful and very difficult, in that sense of having to discipline around something that is an addictive device. There are addictive devices.
and
So
they're addicted to it. They are addicted
mm,
to it.
so it
I'm
is a
always
really tough thing.
I'm looking at my phone, but I don't look at it as much as my daughter-in-law has it in her hand all the time.
Mm, mm,
She
mm,
doesn't. And I
right,
can remember when she was dating my son, and they've been married 16 years. I remember she had a phone, which was she works for movie stars, so she has to always
right,
be ready.
ready,
But
yeah.
she had it even then. I thought it was so
Mm,
funny. She always was
mm,
at it right with her all
mm,
the time.
mm.
And now I'm like,
No,
well,
the
the
whole world does that. Mm,
and you know what's amazing to me? When I walk down the street, I remember taking the kids in the buggy for a walk and talking about, even though they were little, the trees and the birds, and look at that's red. Now moms are on their phones and the
Mm.
baby has an iPad, a 2-year-old. Isn't
And
that
and this is my biggest thing. My daughter's thinking, she'd like to have children, and I watch this, and this is another thing for anyone listening, parents, grandparents, whatever. And that was the way our children learnt to speak and learnt to listen, was the fact that when they were in that pusher, you talked at them or to them, whether they were verbal at the time, they might be 6 months to 12 months. And that's how they learnt the art of communication. But when they're stuck on an iPad or you're on a phone or you haven't got eye contact with them, that is the biggest loss for humans,
I
like for
know.
those little kiddies. So it is really important that on your holidays too, that you are with your children and talking to them and have all of that stuff. But for young parents, very young parents that aren't with school age children, just remember that that is the greatest, not being awful, mistake to make, is to be handing your child an iPad instead of communicating with them verbally and
Yeah,
physically,
just
you know?
and yet it's going on even when my
Mm,
grandson comes here and he's 14,
mm,
so you can be sure he's on.
yep,
He'll sit and he'll watch a movie with me, but I see him, like, moving. 'Cause I know he wants to go out of the room and get his iPad, and
mm,
he's being nice
yep,
because that's rude to come to
yep,
grandma. He's old enough to do that, but he's going out there and he's ready to get on it, and,
yeah, yeah,
um, the other thing is check the class list.
mhm,
'Cause a lot of times kids freak because they're not with their best friend. I can
mm,
remember when I wasn't with my 2 best friends, they were in the other class. Honest to goodness, I remember being at Elaine's house on the floor, so upset. What was I going to do? And my mother said, "Well, you'll see her at PE, you'll see her." I said, "But she won't be in my class." It was traumatizing. So if you get the class list before and they don't know somebody or they know somebody just a little, get together with that child.
mm,
Start doing this kind of stuff
mm,
2 or 3 weeks before. And
yep,
boy, if your child has learning differences, please get them help.
mhm,
Make sure if they need a therapist, they are seeing a therapist. Talk about the appointments they're gonna have during the week. This is what we're gonna be doing. All these kinds
mm,
of things. The weekend before, I always think it's one of those times where you should do a family outing. If you can do that, even if it's just going to the park, everybody get together and because the parents have probably had a vacation sometime, and everybody needs to just relax and have a good time. And, it's very funny. And this is so funny. This is the funniest thing. Before school starts, I always tell the kids, the teacher's going to say the first day of school, "What'd you do this summer?"
mhm.
So that's exactly, and it's Christmas too. They always do that. And the kids always go, and that's always the first writing assignment. So all the kids will come back, and go, "Dr. Wall, how'd you know that was going to be what they were going to make us write?" And I prep them. What would you? 'Cause some of them, if I didn't say it, and I
Mm,
didn't tell the parents, they come back and they go, "How did you know the teacher was going to do that?" I said, "Well, what'd you write?" And he said, "I was so scared, I couldn't remember what I did." I said,
mhm.
"What? You went on a hike with your father up in the mountains?" He said, "Oh, I forgot about that." I couldn't believe it.
Do you know what my son did, Vicky? 3 years in a row, he wrote the same story. He just he just embellished it a little bit, and I said and a friend of mine said, "That's terrible," and I said, "I'm not sure whether that's
I
smart or
think it's
terrible."
Oh, no, no, I think it's genius. That's really fun. That's
He
a very
said to me, "Mum, it's a different teacher. She's not gonna know what."
You know what? That's really
Yeah.
fun. That's really a smart
Oh, dear. So,
That's
yes,
for sure.
yep, yep. So they definitely do. They always ask for
Always
that, and
do. What
yes,
or what'd you do on vacation?
yep,
And
yep. So
and
prep
then
them
when
up.
school starts,
Mm,
you wanna make sure you're sitting on the bed at night, talking to them, "How did it
mm,
start?" Now, if you notice, I have not said a word about talk to the teacher about your child before.
mhm,
If your child has learning differences or doesn't. Don't do that. The teacher has no idea how your child is, and they're making bulletin boards. They don't need to be talking about your child. What you can do is email them, introduce yourself. If your child does have learning differences, you can say, "I'd like you to get to know my child, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks." And that's really important.
mhm,
Parents tend to think, "I'm going to go right up to the teacher." The teacher's not listening to you.
mm-mm,
They're not, they're
mm,
just as,
mm.
and I tell my kids that. I go, the teacher is planning her plan. She's not looking to what you're interested in right now. But this
Yep,
kind of
she's
stuff,
stressed. She's back at school with her 34 or 40 children or God knows whatever it is, and she's just trying to get organized. Yeah, she's just trying
there's
to
these
yes.
these 3 teachers at the school that I just love because 'cause they're so creative and wonderful. They're wonderful with children, and they all have babies at home.
Mm,
That must be and I said to
mm,
them, I try and if your teacher has babies, don't go overloading them right now. Give
mhm,
them time. They're adjusting to leaving their baby. A
mhm,
lot of things
mhm,
going on in everybody's lives. But
mm,
this doing all this prep, it just takes away not only the anxiety for your child, takes away your
yeah,
anxiety.
yeah,
If you do it a couple weeks
mm,
before, it's not I can
mm,
remember parents saying to me, "It was the night before. He didn't go to bed till 12." I said, "Well, what time's he been
mm.
going to bed the last few weeks?" She said, "11." I said, "Well, he's not gonna fall asleep then at 9 when you go to sleep." Just do a day
Yeah,
at a time, and it'll be if you don't want to stress everybody. If they're
yep,
going to school in a carpool, who are they going with?
mm,
And do it
mm,
2 weeks
mm,
ahead.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny, Whoopi Goldberg, I love her, and she had learning differences, and she had a mother who told her she wasn't stupid, and she would grow up to do anything she wanted. So Whoopi always thought, "I knew I couldn't be stupid because if you read to me, I could tell you everything you read." Now, if every child would have that confidence, school would be a lot less fraught from many kids.
it would be, and if we parents had the confidence to tell our children that they would be okay as well, that would be hugely important, wouldn't it? You know,
Right.
like I always said to my kids, I just want you to be great people that people can talk to, that you can understand people, and you will get anywhere in the world, you know, because if you're a person that can talk to other people, you can do anything and people can relate to you.
Right.
It's a
And
massive
we need
thing.
more of that, with
Mm,
tablets, we're having a
mm,
little problem with that. Funny, play they get together with their tablets. I
mm.
find that
I
so
know,
weird.
I know, and they're all looking at it and they're
And
talking to
the
each
tablet
other.
instead of talking to the friend. I find it very bizarre, very bizarre.
Very odd, very odd. So let's see, can you just give us 5 activities that they could do in summer without a screen, that would be really simple things for parents or grandparents listening, but fun, you know, because you've got a list here. I've got a list here of the different things that you talk about.
They can yeah, I was talking about reading to stuffies, which I always think is
Yeah.
funny. Little kids, they always think that's funny.
Mm.
You can I buy shells on
Yeah.
Amazon, and they make things. You need hot
Mm.
glue, and don't let
Mm.
the kids touch it,
No,
even though the
no.
kids go, "We use hot glue in
Mm-mm.
school." And I'm thinking, 1st grade, the teachers give them the hot glue gun, and I'm
Really?
always burning myself.
Mm,
I
mm.
don't
I
know.
don't think so.
You know my favorite thing to do, and I bet you have it, although you could do it in for
Mm,
US. But in US, we have a place called, Here With Us Farm Sanctuary. I don't see
right,
why you couldn't email, it's the same thing. And what you do is you go online and you see their animals, and they list what she, adopts them, and she
right,
writes down and she gives them, like, personalities and who they're
right.
friends with. And my students write to the animals, and this woman
Oh,
writes the from the animal's
oh,
back. And
cute.
even I'm telling you, even 4th and 5th graders like it.
Yes.
They go online and they look at which animal and
Yeah.
the funny thing is, they're all they all have a specific animal. I thought, "Oh, this one's the cutest," and
Mm,
they'll go, "Oh, no, I like this one." They
mm.
pick out from the internet, from the
Yeah.
screen, which one they like. I thought found that
That
very,
is amazing. Yeah.
um,
You've
yeah,
got scavenger hunts here, which is really good. The
oh,
scavenger hunt,
I
finding
love them.
specific plants and stuff. Yeah, like that could be an idea too.
That's a
I've
really good idea.
yeah, yeah. I
Why?
found it's
Get 'em
pardon?
outside. Get 'em
Yeah.
outside, I'll
Mm.
give you their computer.
Absolutely, absolutely. What else might you,
Oh,
suggest
you
for
know what else I
them?
love doing? They make a board game. That's so
Mm.
fun because now at the on it's horrible. I go to Amazon for everything. They have little toys you can use, and they make
Have
it like
they?
a cardboard, and they make their own. And it's funny, they all have the idea of the way the board should go, like a Monopoly board, and
Yep.
they go and they put different things on, go down the slide. It's so funny, and they're creating and they're thinking and, it's in an orderly I just think it's really
And they get a chance to create their own rules too, I imagine. Wouldn't wanna play that game.
and the other
And
thing I love, Amazon has hardcover books,
Right.
especially hardcover books. My students make books all the time. If you go on
Oh.
vacation, well, who has a camera? But you
Mm.
could print out. I'm always printing out
Mm.
from my phone.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
print out the pictures that
Mm-hmm.
they take on vacation, and I
Yep.
make a book out of them. It's a hardcover book. And then if the child can't read, you say, "Tell me what this picture." They'll tell you, "Oh, we went
Yeah.
swimming today in the pool." So you print out or
Yep.
type, "We
Mm-hmm.
went swimming today in the pool."
Mm-hmm.
And even
Fabulous
little
idea.
kids, I mean,
Mm.
even like 3rd and 4th graders love doing when they interview somebody, I type it out and they put it in a book and they put
Right.
pictures of the person. They're hardcover books. They have little ones and
That's
big ones. I
great.
really like them. And you
That's a
can get,
great idea. Yeah.
oh,
So
you'll love this. No mother's gonna love this. It's my favorite thing. You take a pound, it's more than a pound of butter, the butter comes like,
Yep.
and what you can do is you sculpt a character out of the butter.
Oh,
It's so
what
much
a
fun, but
great idea.
while you're using that, I used, the plastic knife,
Okay. Yes. Yep.
but, that one's a little messy.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And you know, as long as you don't have to eat the butter afterwards, you can throw it away. Ugh. That sounds like a fabulous idea. On that note, Vicky,
But cooking with kids is always fun.
yeah, oh, they love it. They do. They love it, and you can use that as a measurement and a story thing, the whole thing. You know, that's fantastic. Now, Vicky, we're going to have to wrap up because you and I could talk forever. So,
Hours.
so let's just talk about where we can find you.
Interesting thing is the at Dr. Victoria Waller, which is my Instagram. I post different things to do and ideas all the time. So that's sort of fun to get ideas from
Yes.
parents and teachers, both.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And your book, where we find your book?
Oh, well, you can find my book on Amazon.
Yep. Cool.
Or
Beautiful.
anybody who writes to me or to you, right, can get the
Yep.
creativity book that I made.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that one you can get free, and I just
Yep.
sent it to you. So if you
Oh,
want that,
beautiful.
it's www.drvictoriawaller.com, and it's just doctors dr with no periods or anything.
All
But
right. The magnificent.
if you have a question
Yep.
about your child, I'm happy to answer it.
Oh, that's
And I can
wonderful,
come
Vicky.
there to tutor your child if you
Yeah.
want.
Absolutely the best tutor in the world. So here are 5 takeaways to help you and your children or your grandchildren get back into those school routines. Number 1 is shift that bedtime and wake up time because they always have a sleep in the holidays or stay up late. So 1 to 2 weeks before school starts, make small changes, like 10 minutes earlier each night and 10 minutes earlier each morning to help your children adjust without stress. Talk to your children about what they enjoy about school, if you can find anything. They might enjoy recess or have favourite subjects or friends that they're really looking forward to seeing again. Avoid expressing your concerns in front of your child. Children are like sponges and they pick up on your anxiety and it becomes one of theirs. So don't talk in front of them. If your child has learning differences or needs medication adjustments, consult with the professionals that look after them well in advance of going back to school. Re-establish rules for screen use before school starts, because they're not going to get as much possibly, because they're going to need to do homework and have other responsibilities first. So set those expectations to avoid any shocks when routines change. And last of all, spend time talking to your child about their feelings and questions. And as I always say, listen, listen, listen. Don't tell. Help them to normalise their worries and discuss with them about how possibly teachers and their other classmates might also feel really nervous going back to school. When I was a school teacher, before I had children, I used to think how heartless parents were when they would hand me their children with a sigh of relief at the end of the school holidays. When I became a parent, I totally understood. So when this first day of school comes back, hopefully you'll be able to drop off your fully prepared kids and go and do whatever you love to do, by yourself or with a friend, and enjoy your child-free time. Thank you for listening to Parenting and Personalities. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review that would help others learn about this podcast. If you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my book, Who Is This Monster or Treasure in My House, on Booktopia or Amazon. If you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. And many thanks to our producers at Stories and Strategies, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.